Hello and welcome to Super Great Kids Stories, wise tales from storytellers around the world, which will make you laugh and sometimes cry. Recommended for ages 5 to 105. I'm Kim and I love stories. And the story this week is from Russia and it's called Masha and the Big Brown Bear. Hello, Super Great Kids, and how are you? I hope you had a happy week. I'm happy because we've been getting some sunshine after several rather grey weeks. And there are snowdrops and crocuses in the garden. Hooray! Oh, and we have a new theme and a new storyteller to introduce you to. The theme is animal stories, and the storyteller is Cat Weatherill, who loves riding motorbikes and travelling. Now, just before we get to our story, I have a little game for you. How many tales can you think of which have wild animals in them? Like lions or tigers or bears or crocodiles? To get you started, how about Ngwenya and the crocodile from Zimbabwe? Or Brer Tiger and the Big Wind from the US and the Caribbean? See how many animal stories you can think of while we have a quick word with the grown-ups. Are you ready? Off you go. Hello, Super Great Kids, I'm back. How many animal stories did you think of? What about how the elephant got its trunk from India? Or the Australian story, Tiddalik the Thirsty Frog, or the monkey who looked for trouble from Haiti. There are so many. Give yourself a pat on the back if you got 5 or more. You are a story expert. Well done. And now, it's time to welcome our storyteller, Cat Weatherill. Cat is a storyteller and also an author and a poet. She lives in a tiny black and white cottage, which is 400 years old, and she's going to tell you a song story. Do join in the song when it comes. Can you remember how people begin a story in Russia? That's right, davnim davno. Can you say it? Davnim davno. Once long ago. Very good. Are you sitting comfortably? Am I sitting comfortably? Then let the story begin.
Hello, my name's Cat. I'm a storyteller in the United Kingdom. And the story I have for you today is called Masha and the Big Brown Bear. Once upon a time, there was a little girl called Masha, and she lived with her mum and dad in a little house at the edge of a big, dark forest. And some days Masha would take her basket and she would go into the forest and she would pick nuts and berries. But one day she was picking mushrooms, and she was so busy looking for the mushrooms that she wasn't really looking where she was going, and suddenly she stopped and she looked around. And she was lost in the middle of the forest. "Hello," she said. "Hello? Is there anybody there?" And then she heard terrible, big, heavy footsteps. Boom, 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 boom. And coming through the trees was a great brown bear. And he grabbed hold of Masha, and he threw her over his shoulder, and he started to run through the trees. He took her all the way back to his house, and he put her down on the kitchen floor. And he said, Masha, now I've got you. You are going to do all the hard work in this house, all the cooking and the cleaning and the scrubbing. I want you to make my breakfast in the morning. I want you to make my supper in the evening. Here's a brush. You can get started right now. Clean that kitchen floor." And poor Masha, she had to begin, there and then, cleaning the kitchen floor. And a whole week went by, and she was trapped in the house, having to do all the hard work. And at the end of that week, she was sitting on her own in her bedroom, sitting on the bed. And she said to herself, "I have to get out of here. I have to get home. My poor mum and dad, they will be so worried about me. They don't know where I am. Oh, I need to get away from this place." But that was very hard because, well, the bear was around and about the house all the time. And even if she got past the bear, well, she was still lost. She didn't know which way her home was. And she said to herself, "I need a plan. I really need a good plan." And suddenly, bing, an idea popped into her head. Yes, she said, "Yes, that's what I need to do. I need to trick the bear into taking me home." And so, the very next day, she started to put her plan into action. She went into the forest just a little way to pick cherries, beautiful, sweet red cherries. And she filled her basket, and then, back in the kitchen, she got busy. She started to bake, and she made lovely, sweet, hot cherry pies. And then she called for the bear, "Misha, Misha Ivanovich," because that was the name of the bear, and in he came. Boom, 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 boom. "Misha," she said, "look, I've been busy. I've been baking. I have made cherry pies. They're a present for my mum and dad. So I'm going to put them into a big basket for you to carry, and then I want you to take me home so I can give them their lovely present." And the big bear came right up to her and said, "Oh, Masha, how silly do you think I am? This is a trick. You're trying to trick me into taking you home. Well, no, I'm not taking you anywhere. If you want your mum and dad to have these pies, I will take them home for you, but you will stay here and wait for me." "Oh," said Masha, "all right. You can take them home for me. I will put them in a basket for you to carry. But, Misha, you must promise me something. If you are going to take them on your own, you must promise me you won't look in the basket and you won't eat any of the pies." And the bear said, "I can't promise you that. They smell delicious." "No," said Masha, "no. If you're going on your own, you must promise me. You won't look in the basket and you won't eat any of those pies. I'm going to be watching you, Misha. I am going to climb onto the roof of the house and I'll be watching. And if I see you trying to steal any of those pies, I will be very, very cross with you. Now, go outside, fix the garden gate. I don't want that banging in the wind while you're gone." And away went the bear to fix the garden gate. And as soon as he had gone, Masha got a big, big basket for the bear to carry on his back, and she filled it up to the top with the cherry pies. But then she climbed into the basket too, and she wriggled her way down to the bottom and sat there, quiet as a mouse, with all the pies piled up on top of her, hiding her. And the big bear came back in, and he could see the basket of pies. Couldn't see Masha anywhere. That was strange. And he picked the basket up, put it on his back, that was heavy, and off he went into the forest, taking the pies home for her. Well, he walked and he walked and he walked, but it was a hot day. And that basket was so heavy on his back. On the path, he came to a little fallen tree. He sat down just to rest for a moment, and he put the basket on the ground beside him, and his nose started to twitch. Those pies were still warm, and they did smell delicious. And he said to himself, I've come a long way into the forest. I'm sure she can't see me here. I'm going to have a pie. And he reached out to take one. But Masha, of course, was in the bottom of the basket, watching everything. And when she saw that big furry paw coming to steal a pie, she started to tell him off. Misha, Misha, I can see you. What did I tell you? Don't eat the pies. Misha, Misha, I can see you. What did I tell you? Don't eat the pies. Misha Ivanovich, she said, get up off that big hairy bottom and take those pies to my mum and dad like you promised. What? Said the bear. How can she see me? How can she see me out here in the middle of the forest? That's not right. That's not right. And he put the basket on his back and he started to walk. Boom, 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 boom. But the day was getting hotter and that basket was getting heavier by the moment. And after a while he came to another tree that had fallen, and he sat himself down and he put the basket beside him and he said, I'm going to have a pie. I'm going to have a pie. And he reached for one and the voice came again. Misha, Misha, I can see you. What did I tell you? Don't eat the pies. Misha, Misha, I can see you. What did I tell you? Don't eat the pies. Said the bear, how is she seeing me in the middle of the forest? This is some kind of magic. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. And he put the basket back onto his shoulders and he carried on walking. And he walked, but he was nearly at the village now. He could see the little houses peeping from behind the trees. And there was another little tree he could sit on by the side of the path, and he sat himself down for one final rest, and he said to himself, this is my last chance. This is a last chance for one of these pies. And he reached out to take one, and the voice came again. Misha, Misha, I can see you. What did I tell you? Don't eat the pies. Misha, Misha, I can see you. What did I tell you? Don't eat the pies. Said the bear, I'm never gonna get a pie. Never, never, never. And on he went into the village to Masha's mum and dad's house. And he knocked on the door and he said, Present! I've brought a present from Masha. Now Masha's mum and dad had a little dog, a little black dog. It was only a tiny little thing, but it was fierce. And it didn't like visitors coming to the front door. And as soon as the door was opened, out it came. And Misha, big though he was, he didn't like little yappy, snappy dogs. And he dropped the basket and away he ran back into the forest. Then as soon as he'd gone, Masha jumped out of the basket and she said, "Ta-da! Mum, Dad, look, it's me. I'm home again, safe and sound. And we've got lots of cherry pies for tea." And they did. They had them for supper that night and they were lovely. They had them with cream and ice cream. And you know, Masha lived with her mum and dad in that little cottage at the edge of the big dark forest for many, many years. And she did take her basket and go to pick the nuts and berries. But from that day on, she was very careful not to go too far in.
Thank you, Cat, for that story. Ooh, would you have gone back into the forest to look for food after being kidnapped by a bear? I'm not sure I'd have been brave enough. That is an old Russian folktale which is over 200 years old. And here's my question. Why do you think Russian parents told their children that story and are still telling it today? Maybe it's because bears do live in Russian forests and they are very big and they can be dangerous. So maybe the parents wanted to warn their children to be very careful when they're out in the forest. Did you know brown bears can run up to 50 kilometres an hour and they're really good at swimming? So you definitely don't want to be chased by one. More fun facts about brown bears in our letter for Owlets this week. Now, lots of you have joined our Owlets Club recently, so it's time to dig deep into our bag of happies and fly around the world with Story Owl to say thank you and welcome to some of you new Owlets. Ooh, 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 ooh. So let's begin in New South Wales in Australia on the far south coast to greet Owlets Atlas, who is 4, and Merlin, who is 2. They're from Canada, but they're now living in a place called Tanger and doing lots of micro-adventures with their mum, including kayaking, canoeing and canyoning. Atlas and Merlin loved all the stories, and Atlas especially likes the stories about Baba Yaga, the witch who eats children. Crunchy, munchy, yum, yum, yum. Thank you very much for your patient waiting for your shout-out, Atlas and Merlin. I'm glad you're enjoying the stories and learning about different places in the world. And let's fly north now to Traverse City in Michigan to say hello to Owlet Piper, who is 7. Piper has been listening to the podcast since 2020 when we first started. Thank you for your loyalty. I hope you're enjoying all of those bonus stories. And let's fly east now to Virginia to greet Owlets Parker, who is 8, Sienna, who is 6, and Isla, who is 3. Oh, and they also have a little sister called Colette, and she's 1. Oh, and Mum enjoys listening too. And Mum's favourite story is the one about the Sicilian witch, Mama Draga. Sienna's favourite story is The Ghost of the Bloody Finger. And 8-year-old Parker loves The Wizard of Abergavenny from Wales. And he's been so inspired by all the storytellers that he wants to be one when he grows up. Their gift subscription came from their grandparents. Hurrah for them, very kind. Let's fly across to Olympia in Washington next to hoot a big hello to Owlet Olivia, who is 7. Her grown-ups let her become an owlet as a solstice gift. Solstice marks the 2 special dates of the year when the days are at their longest and at their shortest. So you're either going to bed when it's still daylight or you're getting up when it's really dark. Olivia's favourite story is the story from Denmark with the little pot that says, "Hey ho, off I go." And staying in Washington, let's hop across to Seattle next to visit Owlets Veronica, who is 6, and Rory, who is 4. They became owlets thanks to their Oma and Opa. Rory and Veronica love listening to stories on their way to swimming lessons. Ah, lovely. Rory's favourite story is Nien the Sea Monster. He likes to pretend he's Nien when he's playing in the pool. And Veronica loves both the Anansi stories and the scary stories. And their mum loves any story told by Toop. Ah, well, watch this space. More stories from Toop coming soon. And let's flip-flap-fly now down to South America to visit Owlet Valentine, who's 8. Valentine was born in the UK and now he lives in Santiago in Chile. It's the last week of the summer holidays where he lives. I hope you had a happy summer. Valentine has also been listening to Super Great Kids stories for a very long time, and his favourite episode is the scary story, The Velvet Ribbon. And let's head back up to Alexandria in Minnesota in the US now to visit Owlet Emmett, who is 5½. Emmett's favourite story is Stick Woman, told by Toop. Hello too to Emmett's brother Noel, who is 1½. Hello, Noel. And now let's hop across to Fresno in sunny California to greet Blair, who is 5 and listens on the way to school. Her favourites are the Anansi stories, especially Anansi and the hot pepper soup. She loves hearing Toop and Jason Buck do their songs and all their funny noises. And across to Woodsfield in Ohio next to greet Owlets Emma Joy, who is 6, and Dan Dan, who is 4. They listen at bedtime. Emma Joy loves the German story Starcoin, and Dan Dan loves the 3 Billy Goats Gruff. Welcome to the club, both of you. And it's a good job Story Owl has had her breakfast because she's putting in lots of air miles around the world today. We're heading to Erskineville in Sydney in Australia now to greet Owlet Theo, who is 5¾ Theo would like to say hello to all his Owlet friends. That's very nice, Theo. His favourite story is The Ghost of the Bloody Finger. And finally, a big hoot out to Owlets in the UK, Maddie, who is 5, and her sister Evie, who is 4 months. Their favourite story is Weeping Willow and the Bridge North Witch and Black Annis, the witch with the blue face. But they are not keen on the Ghost of the Bloody Finger because they say it's just too scary. Well, fair enough. I think you're very brave listening to Black Annis, Maddie. That's it for this week. More Owlet welcomes next week. Thanks very much for your patience waiting for your name to be mentioned. And you've been sending in some marvellous pictures to Story Owl this week, which we've put on our Facebook page. Our Pick of the Week Super Great Artist goes to 7-year-old Hetty from Nottingham in the UK, who's drawn a wonderful picture of the scary witch story Mabel and Black Annis. I love the way you've drawn Black Annis with her blue face and iron claws, almost catching little Mabel, who's running away as fast as she can. And you've even included the little cat and the pocket in Mabel's dress where the sage and rosemary are hidden. A super creative drawing. Thanks for sharing it with us, Hetty. And if you'd like to send us a picture of your favourite story or of this week's story with a big brown bear carrying the cherry pies, send your picture as a JPEG attachment, please, via our website at supergreatkidsstories.com. And we can share your art on our Facebook page with other story lovers. That's facebook.com/supergreatkidsstories if you'd like to have a look at the pictures. And on our Instagram art gallery at supergreatkids_art. And thanks to all of you who are subscribing to our podcast. It's only £3 a month, less than $4, to get advert-free and access to the Super Great Scary Stories. And if you pay for the next tier up, you'll get ad-free plus at least 50 bonus stories and at least 30 Super Great Scary Stories. Plus, you'll get access to our Super Great Kids Stories Express with short introductions, no adverts, no shout-outs, purely story. Great for listening to stories back to back. And did you know that you can now gift a Patreon membership? Visit our website for more details, supergreatkidsstories.com. Well, that's it for this week. Thanks to our storyteller, Cat Weatherill, for her story from Russia. Another animal story next week about a tiger, told by Toop. Have a happy week. Listen out for birds singing to welcome in the spring, if you're in the northern part of the world, and keep telling your stories and singing your songs. This podcast was produced at Wardour Studios in fabulous Fitzrovia in London.